Well, it appears Iran has 8 days left, and Trump's presidency is on the line. Let me say this plainly. If the United States goes to war with Iran in the next week or two, it could be devastating for the United States of America, militarily, economically, politically, and it could become the defining moment of President Trump's entire presidency. Because this isn't Afghanistan. This isn't people fighting on camels, a 20-year war that we lost in a devastating fashion, by the way. This isn't fighting Houthi rebels in Yemen. By the way, we couldn't even beat them. We struck them over 1,000 times, and it didn't stop them. So we just gave up, and we turned tail, and we stopped bombing them. We lost. The Houthis beat us. Let that sink in. Iran is a modern military power with hypersonic missiles, a huge missile force, hardened infrastructure, proxies across the entire region, backing from Russia and China when it matters. The second this kicks off, United States troops and bases become the bullseye. And look at the posture right now. Even mainstream outlets are describing one of the largest U.S. buildups in the region since 2003, the invasion of Iraq, the Gulf War, carriers, warships, jets. I spoke to sources in the Middle East who said they haven't seen anything like this since the invasion of the Gulf. The whole package is there. And at a cost to you and I, the taxpayers, hundreds of millions of dollars, by the way. The president has talked about an 8-day deadline for a deal and warned that Iran has really bad things will happen if they don't comply. Iran's answer has been consistent. Hit us, and we retaliate against U.S. forces across the region with a devastating attack.
Iranian leaders have said any attack by the United States, limited or not, would cause them to unleash their vast missile arsenal at U.S. bases vulnerable to attack in Qatar, UAE, and Bahrain, home to the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet. The amount of military hardware the Pentagon is positioning in the region signals it is not a question of if, but when. Here's what the cable news Mockingbird media refuses to say out loud, that you can start a war with a press conference, but you don't control the second and the third order consequences. And, Fox News and CNN would love nothing more than a war because for them it means ratings. Well, China and Russia are watching everything that we move into the Gulf. We're showing our cards, broadcasting our limits, and daring them to test us elsewhere. Aircraft carriers in the region. Hey, massive aircraft carriers, why don't you hit these giant floating targets with hypersonic missiles? And all of this is happening when our equipment is old, depleted, exhausted. That's not me saying that. That's United States military experts saying that. We've given huge stores of our weapons to Ukraine, depleted our entire stockpiles. And as military experts point out, our military is designed for a post-World War II era. And that era is now gone. Establishment media, which of course, as I pointed out, loves wars, is saying a war with Iran would be a nasty, brutal fight. So they're even admitting it. And think about the Straits of Hormuz. Roughly a fifth of the world's oil moves through that choke point. If this turns into a protracted fight, shipping gets disrupted, you're looking at an economic shock that hits every American family and affects all of us. Groceries, interest rates, putting gas in our car, everything.
I think Iran will shut down the Strait of Hormuz, shut down oil production, kill a lot of Americans, destroy Israel. And hopefully somebody very smart is whispering this reality in Trump's ear, up to including the fact that we could lose an aircraft carrier if we're not careful.
That's Scott Ritter, former U.S. Marine, former UN weapons inspector who discovered that Saddam Hussein didn't have weapons of mass destruction, told Congress, even though Netanyahu told us that it did, and that's why Congress felt the need to go to war in Iraq. He told us the truth when everyone else was lying. Millions of Iraqis died. Thousands of Americans came home in body bags as a result if they'd only listened to him. And furthermore, listen to the people who have actually worn the uniform, like Scott Ritter, and led troops into battle like Colonel Daniel Davis. He says we're going to attack. You don't build up this much firepower for nothing, but he says the quiet part out loud, we will lose.
I don't see any other attainable military objective short of attempting a regime change with all of this combat power. But I don't see that being a militarily attainable mission at all. So I don't see any attainable military operation other than we could blow up a lot of stuff. We could shoot a bunch of missiles. We can kill a bunch of people. But at the end of the day, if you're not going to even have the threat to go in with several 100,000 boots on the ground to conquer a country, all you can do is blow up a bunch of stuff. And then you have a situation like the Houthis where all they have to do is not lose and stay viable. and then they can be a thorn in your side forever.
Davis's point is Iran is not a soft target. This would be a massive fight against missiles, drones, air defense systems, and serious command structure, not a quick victory lap for our out-of-date military. Just think about this. Our military aircraft relies on freaking precious metals that we get from China, and we don't have it right now. We don't have any at home. Scott Ritter made a great point a few weeks ago. Someone told Trump, you better not do this right around the new year because we are not militarily able to do it.
And he was warned by smarter people in the national security system that if he started a conflict with Iran, it wasn't going to go the way he thought it would, that the United States would be embarrassed, humiliated, and would take months, if not years, to build up the military force to prevail. And so Trump backed off, claiming that he was sparing Iranian lives because he's such a great humanitarian.
So what changed from a few weeks ago? Well, the answer is nothing changed. Our military is the same it was a few weeks ago, only more tired and more stretched thin. And we're going to bomb Iran now? And now put this into the political frame that matters. Americans voted for Trump on three main things: the border, the economy, no more Middle Eastern wars. And here's the part that makes me furious. Trump is being fed canards, total lies. It'll be easy. It'll be quick. Iran will fold. And who's pressuring him the hardest? Well, Netanyahu comes to town again last week, begs him again a seventh time at the White House. It's the same neocon voices who always want the next war, never pay the price when it blows up. Ben Shapiro's of the world, the Mark Levins of the world, Lindsey Graham's of the world. They'll cheer from a studio while American families carry the cost that they don't care about. Tucker Carlson's interview with Ambassador Mike Huckabee this week exposed that divide. It was like watching a murder on live television. Tucker Carlson destroyed him. Tucker asked the most basic questions. How many Americans actually support a war with Iran?
How much does it matter what Americans think?
Well, it matters every bit what Americans think. That's why Americans vote. It's why Americans have the opportunity to have free speech. We want them to have that.
Okay, so what percentage of Americans support a war with Iran?
I don't know. Do you know?
I do. I think it's around, I saw the numbers yesterday. I think it was like 21%.
Okay.
Is that enough to have a war with Iran?
We don't live in a world where you have a poll taken to find out whether our policy should be a particular direction.
It's like watching that. You're wondering, what world am I living in? These sick people don't care about Americans at all. Ivan Reichland summed it up perfectly in a tweet. He said, watch this next clip. It's the perfect summation of those that want America to be first instead of Huckabee's world, who wants America to be second. Watch.
I guess what I'm saying is that most Americans, I've never met an American who thinks, other than like the people who have ideological reasons to pretend they think it, that the imminent threat to America is anything having to do with Iran. The imminent threats to America include bankruptcy from too much debt, your son ODing on fentanyl, your neighborhood completely changing, because unlike Israel, Americans don't have a right to their country. It can just be completely changed by their legislature. New people can show up from foreign countries and not speak your language, and there's nothing you can do about it because you don't have a right, because you're not Bibi. Can you feel the resentment? Because it's real. I'm not against Israel. I'm against the total destruction.
You hide that very well.
I'm mad at my lawmakers for not protecting my country with the care they've protected Israel. How do we have 60 million illegal aliens if they protected my country? I love the fact I campaigned for Trump because he said he'd close the border. He did. Amen. Thank you, Trump.
You inferred that we do more for Israel than we do for ourselves. Do you believe that?
Where's the care? Where's the concern? Where's the, holy smokes, there are drug cartels in your neighborhood? You're telling me about the border with Lebanon and like Hezbollah or Hezbollah, whatever you call it, in some Latin American country? I don't care.
He nailed it. The only nut jobs defending Huckabee are the normal Zionist Israel first shills like Mark Levin, Randy Fine, Ted Cruz. Americans don't want a war with Iran. It will devastate this country, period. I hope President Trump is paying attention and not just listening to Netanyahu, because I think this is the defining moment of his presidency. With our military in tatters, despite what they say, America $39 trillion in debt, we can't afford this huge mistake. And yet it looks like over the next 2 weeks, we are fully heading to war with Iran. So that's the news portion of today's video. Now I have to tell you about today's sponsor, which is linked perfectly to the news that I just shared, and it leverages the immense changes that are occurring in the world right now, sadly. So I think the next few minutes are very important because I see a potential breakout of epic proportions in one particular sector tied to our United States military, and no one seems to be paying full attention to it online. Like if we decide not to go to war, could we instead focus that money and rebuild the United States military? So it's an undisputable fact that the military budgets are growing massively. President Trump, $1.5 trillion military budget. And a big piece of that, minerals, access to commodities, oil, critical minerals, rare earth metals, among other resources, are now more important than ever. President Trump has issued multiple executive orders on those specific issues. The United States wants to make sure that there are no vulnerabilities when it comes to protecting its citizens and expects all nations to do the same, guard their own populations. And the message is clear when it comes to mining, to stockpiling crucial materials, and to production of the state-of-the-art technology, the United States will never be left exposed again like we've been to China. Yet when I do my review of the current state of affairs, the United States is very weak when it comes to critical minerals and rare earth metals. And after 30, 40 years of believing that by relinquishing these industries to other nations, that's okay, that's how we've done it. So I've come to the personal conclusion, looking at this from a purely risk-reward opportunity versus threat lens right now, there is no bigger potential mother lode moment than the breakout of rare earth exploration in North America. That's because the industry is virtually non-existent in the US and in Canada. And these strategic minerals are the absolute key to having a military that can defend the free world from the threats of the 21st century. So the sponsor of today's video is North American Niobium and Critical Minerals Corporation. Here's their US ticker symbol right here on your screen. It's NIOMF. And right now it's exploring for 3 minerals, 2 of which are rare earth minerals, which are super magnets. Niobium, and there's 0 mines on US soil for niobium. 0. 92% of global production is in Brazil. Yeah, you heard me right. Brazil. Praseodymium and neodymium controlled 71% by China, and it's already restricted by China to us already. And we need it for our military. So imagine the scope, size, and the urgency of the opportunity to explore for these in North America on our own soil, in the North American hemisphere. It's frontier territory. It's ground floor level. And it's only at its infancy right now. So that gets me very excited. So by the way, the ticker symbol NIOMF is available on all of like the big brokers, Schwab, Fidelity, Interactive Brokers, E-Trade, all of those. So if I can position myself to be part of the birth of the new drill baby drill era for niobium, praseodymium, and neodymium, when I know for a fact that these 3 are top concerns for the US government right now, and that for both the Trump administration and for the Chinese Communist Party vying for these, critical minerals and rare earth metals are viewed as the primary ammunition in a 21st century geocentric conflict. I believe I've made a big and important choice here, and that's why I wanted to share it with you. So the launch of Project Vault represents the first time the United States has created a dedicated strategic reserve specifically to protect the private sector from supply shocks. And there are currently 0 operational mines of niobium, for example, on the U.S. soil, a rare earth mineral, and it's imported 100% from foreigners. It's used in hypersonic missile systems, jet engine turbine blades, rocket propulsion nozzles, space-based nuclear reactors, stealth radar systems, military satellite electronics, kinetic energy warheads, naval structural steel, reaction control thrusters, infrared and optical sensors, just to name a few. On top of niobium, which China has already restricted to export for America's military uses, North American niobium is also focused on 2 supermagnets. Neodymium, which is the primary ingredient in the strongest permanent magnets ever created. Neodymium and praseodymium are among the most strategically important materials for space and defense. Just like praseodymium, for example, is used in jet engine structural alloys, submarine sonar transducers, laser rangefinders, target designators, missile seeking systems, and so many additional applications. The opportunity is enormous in my view because we don't have a country without them. And North American niobium is exploring for both. So I believe there's never been a better time to hold North American-based niobium and rare earth stocks. So here is their ticker on your screen once again, North American niobium is securing its drilling permits in Quebec and could begin exploration in the coming weeks and months. So guys, do your own homework on this company. I'll have links to their website so you can dive in yourself, do all of your own due diligence, look at their reports, and educate yourself on what they're doing and these new projects. And we'll see you next time, everyone.